Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to look at a book called On the Psychology of Military Incompetence. So, if you're interested in psychology, sociology, warfare, or strategy, then make sure to stick around because I think you're going to enjoy it. As edited by the renowned Dr. Stephen F. Myler PhD, as always, the video is based on the book of the same name by Norman Dixon, published in 1976, and, by the way, it's an absolutely fascinating read. Before we get into the book itself, let's quickly look at its author, Norman Dixon. Norman Dixon was born in 1922. He served as a lieutenant in the Royal Engineers during the Second World War and was awarded the MBE, Member of the Order of the British Empire, for his service. He was actually wounded in action, and when asked what happened, he humorously replied, "I fell out of a tree trying to escape being captured. I wasn't very good at this job, but I was even worse at being a prisoner." This self-deprecating sense of humor would become a hallmark of his writing, and is quite apparent throughout the book. But let's go back to his time in the military. After the war, Dixon left the army in 1950 and went up to university, where he earned a first-class degree in psychology. He went on to have a distinguished academic career, eventually becoming the Professor Emeritus of Psychology at University College London. He was also a Fellow of the British Psychological Society, and throughout his career he wrote many books and articles on the psychology of military incompetence. So, now that we know a little bit about Dixon, let's take a look at the book itself. Published in 1976, The Psychology of Military Incompetence is one of the most important books ever written on the subject of military psychology. It looks at famous leaders from around the world, where Dixon exposes them for who they really are. Dixon's main thesis is that many military leaders and high-ranking officials are not necessarily stupid, but they do share certain personality traits that lead them to behave in ways that ensure their military failures. To support this, he examines several cases of military incompetence throughout history, including the Crimean War, the Boer War, both World Wars, and many others. By analyzing these cases, Dixon is able to identify certain patterns of behavior that lead to military failure. One of the main findings of the book is that authoritarianism is a major contributor to military incompetence. Authoritarian leaders are often unable to listen to the advice of their subordinates, and instead rely on their own judgment, even when it is wrong. This can lead to disastrous consequences, as shown in many of the cases that Dixon examines. For example, Dixon looks at the Crimean War, where Lord Raglan's insistence on attacking, despite the advice of his generals, led to heavy casualties and ultimately the botched Battle of Balaclava. Similarly, he examines the Battle of Karansibus, where General von Beck's authoritarian style and his refusal to listen to reason led to a massive loss of life. Another key finding of the book is that fear of failure can also contribute to military incompetence. When leaders are too afraid of making mistakes, they may avoid taking the risks necessary to achieve victory. This can result in a lack of initiative and a failure to take advantage of opportunities. For example, Dixon analyzes the Battle of the Somme, where General Sir Douglas Haig's fear of failure led him to plan a massive but ultimately futile attack. Similarly, he examines the Battle of Britain, where Air Marshal Sir Hugh Dowding's cautious approach to air warfare may have prolonged the battle unnecessarily and resulted in heavier than necessary casualties. In addition to these two factors, Dixon also identifies other common traits among incompetent leaders, including rigid thinking and parochiality. Rigid thinkers are unable to adapt their strategies to changing circumstances and often fail to learn from their mistakes. Meanwhile, parochial leaders are so focused on their own immediate concerns that they are unable to see the bigger picture. All of these traits can lead to disastrous consequences on the battlefield, as Dixon demonstrates through his analysis of numerous historical cases. Throughout the book, Dixon uses a variety of psychological concepts to explain why some military leaders consistently fail. He examines topics such as groupthink, the psychology of authority, and the role of perception in decision-making. By drawing on these psychological principles, Dixon is able to provide a compelling explanation for the seemingly irrational behavior of some military leaders. One of the strengths of Dixon's approach is his use of case studies. He examines a wide range of historical cases from different time periods and different parts of the world. This allows him to identify patterns of behavior that are common to military incompetence, regardless of time or place. For example, he compares and contrasts the behavior of incompetent leaders in the Crimean War with those in the Boer War and in both world wars. This approach allows Dixon to build a strong case for his thesis that military incompetence is not simply a matter of luck or circumstance, but rather the result of predictable psychological factors. However, there are some limitations to Dixon's work. Firstly, the book was published in 1976, and while it has remained an important work in the field of military psychology, it does not take into account developments that have occurred since then. Secondly, Dixon's focus on the personality traits of military leaders may have led him to overlook other potential causes of military failure, such as systemic issues within militaries themselves. Nevertheless, these limitations do not detract from the overall importance of Dixon's work. The Psychology of Military Incompetence remains an essential read for anyone interested in the subject. Its accessible writing style and engaging case studies make it a pleasure to read. Even today, Dixon's analysis of military incompetence is just as relevant as it was when it was first published. His identification of key personality traits that contribute to failure on the battlefield continues to be supported by subsequent research, and his insights into the psychology of leadership remain timeless. So, if you're interested in learning more about the psychology of military incompetence, then I highly recommend reading this book. You won't be disappointed. That's all from me for this video. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't already, then please do check out my podcast, available on various platforms. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Edited by Dr. Stephen F. Myler, PhD.